everybody. So welcome to Break the Silos. I'm super excited to have everybody here. And I'll invite Rick and Will to come onto camera with me, and we'll kick things off. So welcome, Rick, and welcome, Will. Awesome. We're all here today. This is great. This is great. So just really quickly, we're going to talk for a little while and tell you a little bit about why all this ecosystem stuff is important for partner marketing and enablement. But it would be awesome for folks who are attending if you could just put your name and your role and your company in the chat. And that way, when we come to Q&A at the end, we can have a sense of who all is here, and super excited to have you. Okay, so with no further ado, let me kick things off and let you know what we're going to do today. So I'm going to spend about 10 or 15 minutes talking about why all this ecosystem stuff matters. And then I'm going to turn it over to Will from TIDWIT. He's going to talk about partner enablement in an ecosystem lens, and then over to Rick at Channext, who's going to talk about partner marketing. So, guys, should we crank this thing up?
Let's go.
Yeah, super excited for it.
Awesome. So, we're here to talk about how we can break the silos. And for those of you who've been in the go-to-market space for a while, in the channel space, marketing, sales, whatever your role is, you'll know that the ecosystem is really putting a new imperative out to us that suggests that we need to stop thinking about some of this portal mindset and start thinking about how we can approach things from more of a platform orientation. So I'm going to talk about why go-to-ecosystem is really important and how the go-to-market mindset needs to be adapted. I'm going to talk about this concept of ecosystem operations and how it's changing the mindsets of how we go to ecosystem. And then finally, I'll talk a little bit about platforms and our concept of composability and how that then sets up a conversation about partner enablement and partner marketing viewed through an ecosystem lens. So let's do it. So those of you who've been following the go-to-ecosystem movement, you know that when you look at go-to-market and we look at some of the challenges that exist there, we can see that there's a lot of silos. There's a product silo. We tend to make products in the old world and what we call the four-wall syndrome. We think that our product is the center of the universe. We tend to have go-to-market silos where we have portals and we sort of go in this hierarchical model downstream to the market. And then we set up these marketing, sales, and delivery silos. And all of that is starting to break down in the context of how customers want to buy, how customers want to have their value delivered, and how partners and communities are working together in a more interoperable way. So we introduced the go-to-ecosystem concept a couple of years ago because we noticed that product silos were giving way to co-innovation, where instead of thinking about making products now with best-of-breed cloud, we need to tie those products together in a co-innovated end-to-end solution environment. And instead of having vendors going to market in silos, we need to think about more of a dynamic go-to-market that's more customer-driven and less vendor-driven. And so we need to set up environments that allow for enablement and marketing, that allow for that kind of dynamic real-time composability, which we'll talk about in a second. We also need very much to be thinking more in the context of flywheels that are created through interoperability. So gone are the days when we can basically go to market in this linear way. Now we need to go to market in a way that allows for interoperability, that facilitates customers getting what they need in terms of this kind of interconnected end-to-end solution environment. So a few stats that would be helpful to think about. The number one buying criteria for MarTech, and it's not just true for MarTech, is integrated solutions. So when we go to market, we have to present our solutions in the context of what it talks to, what it integrates with. Prospects are now buying across 28 different points of influence. And if you're a vendor, you're lucky to have 4 of them. That means that the other points of influence are going to come from other partners who are some of those that the customer actually looks to for value realization. So there's now up to 7 different partners in any given stack that are involved in delivering value. So if you're not working with if you're one of them and you're not working with the other 6, chances are you got a lot of dark social, which is actually a mystery. It's really the ecosystem. It's not dark social. And 86% of all prospects, they start their buying process with a referral, which means that if you're not going to market through an ecosystem, you're only marketing to 14% of the prospects who are comfortable buying direct. And finally, we're seeing tremendous turnover in B2B stacks. And what that ultimately means is that we're suffering from a lot of churn. And that churn is a function of the fact that we've yet to align the way we go to market to be consistent with this ecosystematic approach. So you won't be surprised to see that if you analyze the top SaaS companies that Pandium did in their study this year, that they have a lot of integrations, which means that product organizations are already recognizing the need for this interoperability. We don't go to market alone anymore. Our best of breed products can only become solutions through integrations and interoperability. And a lot of us are actually becoming platforms as we recognize that we want others to build on us. So what does all this mean from the standpoint of ecosystems and operations? Well, it's gotten a lot more complicated if you're a vendor to go to market. And we've introduced this concept of eco-ops, which basically allows you to take all the different programs that you need, commercial programs, community programs, development programs, and align them to all the different parts of your organization through things like enablement, through things like marketing. And we're going to talk today about a couple of the foundations of ecosystem ops, the first one of which is that platforms are an essential part of eco ops. So if you think about channel tech, for the longest time, it's really been, for lack of a better word, a portal game. You know, you set up your PRM, it's a portal, you set up your websites, you set up your various different activities, and you go to market hierarchically in these stovepipes. Well, what's really cool, and today you've got two of the best, ecosystem portal have transformed to ecosystem platforms. And now Channext, who's looking at the marketing side, and TIDWIT, who's looking at the enable side, introduce these marketplaces where partners and individuals can freely gather to engage in a variety of ecosystem activities. So perhaps they'll freely gather to engage in how they enable each other, or perhaps they'll freely gather in terms of how they market with each other. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's super exciting to hear some explicit examples that will give on how to do that from an enablement perspective, and that Rick will do to how to do that from a marketing perspective. So one of the things that we think platforms will help us do is that customers are demanding that partners go together in the context of these joint solutions. And unfortunately, the only thing we can really get if we go direct is with this portal model, and you're a particular SaaS company and you have another partner that you've partnered with. This portal-led model is still relevant, but in order for this joint solution to really pop, we have to have a platform environment where we're actually driving the kinds of behaviors that two different partners are going to have as they introduce a joint solution. So you'll see us talking a lot in the next month or two about the importance of enabling joint solutions from a top of funnel to a closed one, all the way to a value realization environment. And the only way those joint solutions are going to work is if we have platforms that can drive the enablement and platforms that can drive the marketing and make that all happen. So the last thing I want to talk a little bit about is this concept of composability. If you follow me in Partner Hacker, I wrote an article last week called Composable Ecosystem Management. And it's a kind of a fascinating idea. If you think about the way companies approach composability in the canonical product sense, it's really this ability to kind of interoperate with the parts and pieces that are necessary to give customers exactly what they want when they want it. Well, we're talking about the concept of taking the same idea toward ecosystem management. That's the ability to create, market, sell, and support the right solution and the right solution combinations as part of a go-to-eco strategy. So that means we have to have composable solutions. That means the ability to interoperate to create the right solution at the right moment for the customer. Composable teams that can basically say, oh, sales is going to have to operate in a composable way, and marketing and customer success, and composable management by adopting the portal plus platform story that's going to allow us to bring those solutions and bring those teams' capabilities to market. So I'm excited about the idea of how composability gives us a framework to think about how to create, market, and sell the right thing at the right time. And excited to turn things over to Will, who's going to tell us what that means from the standpoint of enablement. So over to you, Will. I think you're on mute. You're still on mute, Will.
Oh, thanks, Alan. Great to be here. Join you and Rick and the rest of the team, and very excited about some of the concepts that you've shared, and I'm hoping to also kind of extend that with some of the concepts we're going to be sharing from from the TIDWIT perspective. So let me kind of kick it off with by sharing essentially a little bit about what we mean to say when we talk about, I guess, silos. There's a lot of definitions to silos, and there's production systems and etc. We're focused kind of today on the theme of enablement, and enablement kind of is an entire journey, either be it partner enablement or even a customer enablement, etc. And we wanted the title of this to be kind of dramatized a little bit. So we called it "The Portal is Dead, Long Live the Node." I guess the theme of kings and queens these days is in. So let us talk a little bit about some of the common pain points that we often hear our customers, be they SMB or corporate, discuss. These are very common. So this is not, one or two. And we're going to share some statistics in just a minute. But we often hear things like our ecosystem enablement is not scaling fast enough, or our ecosystem partners are avoiding our portal. Goals are therefore not being met. It's very hard to keep our partners up to speed. We can't really kind of integrate all the different elements of what we share with our partners or our customers. And we don't know exactly what our partners or are doing, and therefore we can't feed more and more into what they need. So there's kind of like a kink in the entire loop that just doesn't allow us to have a full feedback loop. There's also compliance risks. And so a lot of these kinds of themes pop up over and over again when we're talking about compliance. When we're talking about enablement. And so typically the go-to of a lot of the partner people and ecosystem people has been, okay, you know what, let's just launch a partner portal and let's try to kind of streamline things. And that's been the go-to since probably the mid-1990s. So it's been around for a good 25 years. But there are a lot of problems with portals. And some of these portals, have been around for a while. They're extremely kind of rigid in their structure. It's a one size fits all. So whether you have a partner, that's a mom and pop shop, or whether you have 100,000 employee partnership, it basically is the same portal. And so that presents a lot of issues with different partners. We hear partners complaining about some of their providers and the inflexibility of those providers to meet, their own specific needs. Portals are monolithic in their architecture. They don't customize well. Again, because once you do this big behemoth of a system, it becomes extremely hard, time-consuming, and costly to make tweaks or adjustments. Partner portals or portals in general don't talk to each other. So portals are meant to be kind of the end point of where users go to, but portals among themselves were never designed architecturally to talk to each other. It's just not part of their overall design. It's a business to user, so to speak, architecture, as opposed to it necessarily being business to business. Portal data, therefore, is very hard to share, and it becomes almost impossible if you're looking at multiple organizations. And some of these organizations could be complex. For example, they could be conglomerates, they could be multi-tier organizations, they could be disties or channels in and of themselves. That kind of data to be shared from a portal is almost impossible. The only solution you have is you tell any one of these, this organization or this ecosystem of organizations, just go to the portal as a user. But of course, that doesn't really help explain the full picture of what this ecosystem is doing, what it's consuming, why and how it's affecting eventually its sales. Portals are very costly to integrate, clearly. Point-to-point integrations are almost impossible. Compliance, therefore, becomes an issue because you're getting all this user data from, and organizations don't want their users to be spreading their data because of compliance reasons. But one of the biggest reasons or problems with portals is that there's just too many of them. So, which portal do I go to? And how many portals must I access to get my job function done? So because of all of this, there's really kind of what we're seeing is now, if we look at it more from an executive kind of strategic perspective, you see a lot of complaints from the CXOs saying, we want to be able to interconnect with organizations, with our ecosystems much more profoundly to drive business and to drive revenue together at the speed of current business practices. But it's very hard to do. And so, but this is one of the missions that these guys are trying to accomplish. It's no longer, I don't just compete against another organization. My ecosystem competes against your ecosystem. The same thing when it comes to the digital transformation. I've invested a lot of money in digital transformation, millions in some cases, but it's really hitting this glass ceiling where I can't go beyond that and affect the digital transformation of my partners. Well, guess what? My own digital transformation's performance or effectiveness is going to be limited by how digitally transformed my partners are. So if they're not, or if I can't really help them transform themselves, then it's always going to be limited in terms of its effectiveness. And then you get things like line of sight of partners, like 90% of executives saying we don't really have enough line of sight as to what our partners are doing, or vice versa, the partners themselves saying we don't really have enough line of sight into our providers. So knowledge sharing and customer support is being seen increasingly as the way to keep an ecosystem all running at the same speed. And if that's based on kind of a broken model, such as a portal model, it becomes a real big problem. So these are some of the concerns that a lot of these executives are telling us. A lot of these field managers and management teams are voicing. And so here we have this new paradigm that's emerging, which is the ecosystem paradigm that is based on a nodal architecture that allows nodes to be spun up and for these nodes to be connected to each other in a very democratized way. And so why is it that some of these, state-of-the-art organizations are jumping on this and basically kind of sidestepping their traditional portal approach? Well, nodes are very configurable and they're very curatable. They're customizable. They can integrate with each other with very little effort. And we're going to talk about how they do that in just a minute. Nodes democratize the channel in such a way where you don't necessarily own the destiny of your partners, neither do they own yours, but rather we're all working together in a collaborative environment to really drive the goals that we want to drive towards. This networkable, kind of architecture allows organizations to be able to spread very, very quickly, much quicker than a portal. And we're looking here at certain statistics that are mind-boggling. For example, reach could increase in a nodal architecture by a factor of 15 between organizations. Stunning statistics that we're seeing. Nodes can deliver data, ecosystem nodes can deliver data in real time, as opposed to portals where you're waiting for the Excel sheets at the end of the month or the quarter to come out and for emails back and forth. And then compliance is the responsibility of each of the node owners. So it basically offloads the responsibility of the central kind of monolithic model, which would be handling everything. In this case, you're actually kind of each one of the nodes is responsible for its own compliance. So, portals versus nodes, if you want to be able to compare both, there's a nice table. We're going to have this for you guys after, so you can go through it. But can a partner customize a provider's portal? In most cases, it's no. With ecosystems node, it's a yes. Can a partner own a provider's portal? Clearly not. You can't own your provider's portal, but you can own your own node. Can a partner SSO into a provider's portal? Sometimes. It's not easy, and there's a lot of limitations. With an ecosystem node, it's part of the architecture. Can a partner integrate with portal backends? Very difficult. And most providers and most portal owners are loath to integrating because it's a security risk, a lot of compliance issues, etc. With ecosystem nodes, again, it's part of the architecture. Can a partner invite downstream customers to join the provider portal? In most cases, it's no, because those portals are meant for partners, not their customers. With the nodes, the node can actually invite, a multi-tier downstreaming motion that allows customers to be able to join that specific node in many different ways. Can a partner add content and publish on the provider portal? In most cases, it's a no. With ecosystem nodes, yes, the partners can add and customize and beef it up with their own stuff. Can a provider's portal collect data from partners, backends? That's in most cases, it's a no, because that data is owned by the node owner, by the portal owner. With the ecosystem node, yes, you could share that data across from your providers, and partners can be sharing them seamlessly. And do you lose control over your users going to a provider portal? In the case of provider portal, clearly it's they would have to go to the portal. In the ecosystem node, your providers stay where they already are. And finally, all the collected user data are in compliance with the provider portal. Again, a partner doesn't own any of this, so the compliance is completely in the hands of the providers. With an ecosystem node, they actually own their own data. So the nodal ecosystem architecture is a very flexible architecture that allows joining nodes and spinning up nodes to be done literally in minutes. Launching a node and connecting it to other node is a very flexible, very dynamic function. You can integrate your node with your backends like SSO, API purposes, etc., without it affecting the other nodes. So they don't have to worry about all your integrations. You just worry, each node worries about its own integrations. You can grow with the node to multiple functions, and I'm talking about enablement and learning, but Rick is going to be talking more about marketing. But all of these workloads could actually run on the same architecture, be composable in the great words that Allan was just mentioning, which is composable ecosystem growth. And then we can get real visibility because we have full access into the node and all the activity that's happening over the node. And then we're, of course, meeting compliance. So how do ecosystems and nodes work? Well, you could have a provider, let's say in this example, it's a Salesforce. They have a ton of portals on the back end, ton of backends that are feeding information. Well, they could spin up a node that integrates all of these seamlessly. And then you have, say, a partner, somebody like an IBM, that essentially is connected. They have their own node, and it connects to the node of their provider. In this case, it's a Salesforce. So what if we could push all of that knowledge that used to reside where Salesforce is, all of a sudden into the IBM environment, where the users of IBM already are, right? That would increase usage by an immense amount. And this is not theory, by the way. These are actually two nodes that we have on the TIDWIT ecosystem network. And just in the last month alone, in the last quarter alone, we've seen a growth of about 76% in the number of users that are accessing all of this knowledge. Whereas before they have to go into exogenous environments, navigate all that kind of stuff, difficult and complicated. Now it's just seamlessly arriving to where they already are on their own LMS systems, on their own HR systems. And you could now think about this as not just a single node, but a node that connects to many of the partners of a provider, or vice versa. A partner could connect with multiple providers. So it quickly becomes a many-to-many model. A couple of words before I end. Beware of false advertisements on ecosystems. There's a lot of portal architected solutions out there that are trying to jump on the ecosystem bandwagon, but in reality they're architected as portals, or are architected in the traditional way. So they may advertise themselves as ecosystem tools, but they don't have the ecosystem architecture. So those are two very different things. Here are some quick ways that you could tell the difference. Are they a web destination, or do they operate behind the scenes? Typically, nodes operate behind the scenes. Portals are like web destinations. They're in your face. You have to go to www.destination. If that's the solution, that will tend to be more of a portal and less of a node. How quickly can they be deployed? Portals take time to deploy. Nodes could be spun up in a matter of seconds, if not minutes. Are they flexible enough to customize and integrate? If your engineers start telling you, oh, this is difficult, this can't be done, this can't be customized, etc., that means they're architected in a much more rigid way. Can they connect to other sources of content easily? The answer is yes, then they're more nodal. If the answer is no, then they're likely to be much more on the portal side of things. Can partners access their own reporting? Can they customize it? Can they integrate it with their backend BIs? If the answer is yes, they're more nodal. And does one organization own the data? then if the answer is yes, then that would be more of a portal architecture as opposed to one that's democratized. So what is it that we do for our customers? Well, we're very passionate about enabling ecosystems and nodes. TIDWIT is a PaaS, is a platform as a service on which these kinds of ecosystem enablement nodes can be launched in a matter of minutes and connected to one another. So if you'd like a little bit more information, be sure to reach out to us or through our partners Channext, or of course through Allan. They know we're partnering with them in spreading the gospel, so to speak, of nodes. And I'll end it with this really nice quote, which is a chief ecosystem officer of GSI, which is what I like conceptually about TIDWIT or a solution, an old solution substitute, is that it's a true B2B platform. Rather than offering yet another useless content portal that nobody from either organization uses, TIDWIT integrates with the native content portal platforms of each participant, allowing multi-party content management, sales enablement, etc. And these are some of the customers that we have. So I'll end it with this. Thank you very much. And I look forward to the Q&A that's coming in a few minutes. Allan, Rick?
Thank you very much, Will. I'll take over from here. Let me see. I think you need to stop share screening and then I can take over.
Done.
Yeah, super. There we go. I think your last quote was particularly interesting, Will, because I think that's something that almost all attendees can relate to probably, and that a lot of this ecosystem thinking fixes is the frustration of putting so much of your time, your efforts, your resources into creating beautiful content, whether it's enablement content, whether it's marketing content, but then not seeing them being used by your partners in the way you would like to do. And I think that's really embracing this ecosystem mindset. Is nothing about where can I store my content, but it's really how can I distribute my content and make it available to as many partners as possible. So from all the resources you put in the content creation, that you really amplify it in the best way possible and share it through as many and with as many as partners and end users there. And I think that's also where I'm going to take over from the marketing part in this particular example. And before I'm going to dive deeper into what partner ecosystem marketing is, it's good to have a look at why partner marketing is so hard. Because I think that's the thing we can all acknowledge. It is hard to get the partners on board, to get them acquainted with it, to make sure that they are utilizing it in the right way. And to look at this particular thing, we need to take a little bit deeper look into how our market is evolving. And I think that's the good news for all of us, is that we are in the right market because partnerships are booming. More and more CEOs are leaning heavily into it. We're seeing that more and more tech and SaaS vendors are looking into the market as well. They are entering the market with new products and solutions. And we also see that the majority of tech sales is all assisted through partners, so 90% of it. Well, at the same time, it's not just the partners that are involved in the sale, but it's also the end users who are asking for it. So not 69% of the end users actually prefer partner-led sales because they can get a complete solution. They can be helped in their own language, specifically here in Europe and in APAC, for example. They have their local point of contact. So there are a lot of benefits for end users to work with those partners. But the other effect of this is, of course, that there are more and more vendors who want to scale their partnerships program because we all see that it's the most effective way to grow our business and to grow revenue. But at the same time, we also need to do the exact same things to grow our partnerships and to scale partnerships in that way, because we need to recruit and activate new partners. We need to train and enable partners, which Will has just been talking about. And we need to engage our partners in our sales and marketing activities to actually drive revenue. And that's the piece that I'm going to look into a little bit more. But the thing is to remember about this, every vendor in the world who is working with partners needs to do those three things to scale their partnerships. So we are all competing with more and more vendors for the same partners in this case. And this is leading to some challenges as well, because the partner only has an X amount of time. And that's why we need to look, how can we make life as easy as possible for partners? And if you look at those particular challenges, then we see immediately that the average partner has 20 to 30 vendor brands where they cooperate with in most of the in most examples, which means that there's more competition and it becomes harder and harder to really stay top of mind with those partners. So it's a continuous battle there for the attention. And at the same time, we see that partners want an easy sell and also really seek the path of least resistance there. And we don't mean easy sell in that they want easy products, because partners love complicated products because they can build their own service around it. They can help the end user with that. But they want an easy sell in terms of making it easy for them as a vendor to sell, to go to market, to be enabled, to get their employees engaged in it. So vendors who are doing this in the best way, who are giving this best support, are the vendors who are grabbing the partner's attention. But even grabbing the partner's attention is not enough, because we see that partners' time and resources are increasingly limited. So it doesn't matter who you're talking to, almost all partners are always understaffed when it comes to marketing. So when you're lucky, they at least specifically in channel, they have 0 to 1 FTE on marketing, and they need to do their own corporate marketing, but also the marketing for all their vendors. So we see that a lot of great enablement materials and marketing content are going to waste because of it. And that's a pity, of course. And what we see there is that this leads to the following facts, is that we see on average in the partnerships ecosystem that there is less than 10% marketing participation by the partners, because they lack the resources to really utilize the materials offered. And that's not good, of course, because we are creating so many assets. But at the same time, we see that only less than 10% of our partners are actually using the assets and the content. And at the same time, we see that a lot of partners eventually turn inactive. So we recruit them, we put a lot of time and money in it, we try to enable them, but then we don't get them involved in going to market and getting end user traction, and partners churn out because of it. So this is a statistic I learned from Jay McBain, that in the average partner program, in the average channel program, up to 80% is not generating revenue. And that's a metric that still blows my mind, because then for every 100 partners you recruit into your program, 80% won't be contributing to growing your business together anymore within a year or so. And at the same time, channel and partnership sometimes really feels like a 100% black box, because indeed what Will said, everybody is using their own systems, their own marketing channels, their own LMS software. And because of it, all the data is locked and scattered across the entire partnerships landscape because of it. And therefore, it's really hard to see at a partner level who is very engaged, who is participating in your enablement, who's participating in your marketing. So actually all the indicators you want to measure, the lead indicators that eventually lead to revenue, those are a black box at the moment. And that's a thing you really want to solve, because the more you get insight in the top of funnel and the early engagement of your partners, the better that can predict how you will grow towards the future. So the challenge we need to solve with each other is the following vicious cycle we're in, where we are recruiting new partners. Partners are not engaging with your enablement and with your marketing activities. Therefore, we are not reaching the end user, and we don't sell. And eventually, of course, when we work with partners, everybody wants to provide as much value to the end user. And eventually, because of providing so much value, grow your business and sell as well. And if that's happening, then we see that partners are churning out. And that's the cycle we need to break, because it's such a pity where we're recruiting them, they're not engaging, and they are dropping out of the program again. So the question is, how do we break this cycle? And here at Channext, we believe that vendors that make partner engagement smooth are the ones that will win partner mindshare and revenue growth in this more and more congested market we are living in. And to break this cycle, there are a couple of steps we need to take. And the first one is that you want to connect and segment your partners to a central platform. So first you want your partners to connect. So for example, their website, their social media accounts, etc. So you can actually extract both the content from your side to the partner, but also the data from the partner back to your side. So very similar to what Will just showed you from an enablement perspective. But to do so in an ecosystem environment, you need to be very deliberate about what type of content do you share with which partner. And that's where the segmentation comes in, which is very important, because you want to ask your partner several questions when you connect or onboard them, so you can provide them with the right content. So let me give you a few examples. What type of product solutions do you sell from us? What type of verticals are you focused on? So are you focused on the education market, on healthcare, on government, on retail? But also, what type of language do you communicate in with your customers? And this type of information is very important, so you can provide the right content to the right partners, because that's the most important thing in an ecosystem approach, is that you are relevant with the content that you're providing. And once you have segmented your partners, then you can go to the magic bullet within partner marketing, which we call always on campaigns. And what's the big difference? Doesn't matter which partner we spoke to, everyone said, I want to participate, but I don't have the time to participate. And that's what we saw all the time. So then we said, okay, but what if we would automate it? And then I said, yeah, I would like that, but only if I stay in control over what happens eventually, and that I get relevant content. And the relevant content part, that's what we fix in the first step, because we only provide content that's relevant for their end user audience. And from there on, we provide them with always on campaigns. So how does this work? As soon as you launch a partner marketing campaign, you put it in the platform. Let's say it needs to go live on the 1st of November. As soon as you press publish, all the partners for whom that campaign is relevant will get a notification like, hey, here's our new campaign. It's around this theme. You can review all the assets. Oh, and by the way, if you do nothing, it will automatically start publishing on your website and on your social media. And by shifting this paradigm around, you really see the engagement going from that average less than 10% in marketing participation to 93% on average, because partners want to participate, but they don't have the time for it. So the 7% that's not participating, they can opt out, for example, for a campaign where they tell you what can be improved in the content and stuff like that. So you can really keep improving and bring your content to the next level as well. And then finally, very important, of course, is data-informed partner marketing, because you bring your content from A to B, but you also want to get all your data from B to A. So you get a total overview over all your partners, whom is performing well, where you have the most traction, who you can help in the right way to really shift it, to really make sure you keep moving forward with partner marketing. But of course, sometimes we get a lot of comments like, but this almost sounds too good to be true. So how do you get the partners bought into this? Like that they do connect and that they do integrate. And that's really where this partner ecosystem mindset comes in. And it's the same for enablement as well. If a partner would have to go with their learning management software and connect themselves to all the separate learning management softwares from their vendors, they wouldn't do it. But if they have one place where they can go, where they can collect everything they want and bring it to their own systems, that's when you can get the partners on board. And that's why we call this webinar Break the Silos, because we need to stop thinking from a silo perspective and start thinking from an ecosystem perspective, where we put the partner experience first. So the partner is in the central place. They determine who they want to cooperate with. And I know that this feels a little bit uneasy sometimes, because what if they go to cooperate with my competitor as well? Or what if they join in their enablement program or in their marketing program? Well, I can tell you a secret, they will do that anyway. So you can better serve them in the best way possible to make it really about them, because that's when you can get them integrated with your systems and really 10x your engagement on enablement and marketing. So what does this look like? On the left side, you see a siloed marketing approach where partners need to go to 20 to 30 portals, get the content they like, and then publish it to their own channels. While on the right side, you see an ecosystem approach where everything gets together in a platform or a node, like Will calls it. And from there, the partner only has one interface where they can manage everything. And the advantage of this is that the content and information is automatically distributed via and to the partners, but also that you automatically collect the partner data and the market insights that you want as a vendor. So it really works both ways. So for the partners, the advantage is that they have one interface to manage it all. And for you, you have the advantage where you 10x your engagement on your marketing and enablement activities, but also you get so much more data than you ever did before. So that's the important. So how we define partner ecosystem marketing is market your joint solutions via the channel in our case, because we are very channel oriented. And what do I mean with market joint solutions is that you go together with other vendors and you create a joint value proposition, which you then distribute via your channel partners. So you get that double network effect in this case. And why are our joint solutions so important, and why do you want to market them in that way? Because it has much more value for the end user. An end user is hardly ever interested in your or our product. They want a solution. So that can be software based, or that can be, for example, with huddle rooms where you need a screen, but you also need a video bar, and you need microphones, and you need the conferencing software like Zoom or Microsoft Teams. So you need a lot of different products together to really bring a solution towards an end user. So there's much more value for the end user when they get marketed joint solutions. Because of it, there's much more value for the channel partner, because all the channel partners we talk to, they say, I want to market solutions and not specific products. So if you tie together there with other alliance vendors or partners you're working with, you can bring much more value to the channel partner as well. And the advantage for you is also very significant, because there's a much higher retention and customer lifetime value for you and your alliance partner if you go to market together, if you go to ecosystem. That's what we see all the time, especially in software. If you start integrating with each other, you are much more integrated in the way of working of an end user, and you provide much more value, which will lead to more value for the customer, higher retention, and a higher customer lifetime value. And then finally, I put together a few use cases, like to imagine a little bit what we've done real life together with customers, where you get multiple vendors who market together through their end users. So an example, for example, are Veeam and Microsoft 365, where in Microsoft 365, you work on all your documents and you get more productive. But what if you lose everything that you've created? And that's where Veeam and Microsoft tie in together, because Veeam automatically backups everything that you do in Microsoft 365 all the time. And channel partners really love to bring this type of solutions to market, because for them, it's very easy to explain to end users how important it is. So this is an example of software. Or an example purely hardware is where Barco and Bose are going to market together, where Barco provides click share, so you can easily share to the screen without any wires, while you need Bose to actually have good audio, so you can hear everyone on the other side of the ocean and make sure that it gets in the best way. And you can even go further. You can make it a 5 vendor alliance campaign, where you also add Samsung for the screens and Logitech for the video bar, etc. So you can really tie it in together. And because you are working from an ecosystem platform, you can also do it together that way, because your partners are connected there. So that you have one place where you can bring that joint solutions, or hardware and software together, where you actually have Logitech who have the video bar, but you can't conference if you don't have Microsoft Teams or if you don't have Zoom. So it's crucial that you embrace that ecosystem mindset, because it can enable you to work together with your alliances, and through working together with your alliances, amplifying both your channel networks to really do partner marketing at scale. And I think this is where I'm going to end my presentation, ask Allan and Will to get back on board.
Great. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Will. We're running a little short on time, so we'll just take a couple of questions. So if anybody has a burning question in the chat, please throw it in and we'll try to end them out, give you back at least 5 minutes before the top of the hour. So I was really fascinated by this discussion in the chat about ecosystem democratization. It's a big word, we're going to democratize the ecosystem. It sounds like everyone's going to get a vote, but let's make it more real. So So Will, starting with you, what does it really mean to democratize the ecosystems? And then Rick, over to you on like, how does that break the silos down? So maybe we can have a quick chat about like how everything changes when all of a sudden the partner is empowered versus the vendor is empowered. What does it mean to you, Will?
I think both will be empowered to a certain degree, because some providers also think that they're empowered with some of the traditional kind of portal-based technologies, when in reality it's restricting their own growth. So it empowers both sides. From a partner perspective, it empowers the partner to really kind of be able to do a lot of what Rick, for example, just portrayed, or when it comes to learning, for them to be able to do enablement in a much more flexible way. So really, democratization of ecosystems is all about adding flexibility, adding a dynamic element to the ecosystem, where people are really moving much more efficiently, either with different providers or between different partners, or even kind of just the meeting the growth potential that a lot of them have put themselves. That is, I think, the essence of what democratizing, moving away from the monolithic to the polyolithic or the democratized model. That's what it really boils down to. It kind of like, in a nutshell, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the days when you had mainframes, and then PCs and networks came around, and all of a sudden there was this huge uptake of usage of IT. We're talking 30 years ago. This is kind of like a similar, kind of paradigm shift. This time within ecosystems and within channels and within how B2B is operating.
What do you think, Rick?
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And indeed, to dive a bit deeper on the breaking the silos, that's what I really love about ecosystem. Like on the one hand, it's of course breaking the silos, making it easier for the partners. So they don't have to go to all the kind of different places anymore. So it fits their way of working much more. But what I specifically like, and what we are experiencing all the time, is that the silos between the vendors are really evaporating in that way as well, because we see that they see the opportunity like, hey, yes, indeed, we know we need each other. We know that we are better together. And there you see a lot more cooperation, because that's all of a sudden that's enabled. Like if it's all in silos, if it's in portals, you can put your own content in, but then the partner can do something with it themselves, or distribution was used a lot because of it, but you could never work together on the same type of partner. So you could never work together in such a way. And that's what I think is really cool when you're democratizing it and you're coming together in a central place, because that facilitates so much partnerships between the vendors as well. And that's one of the things I love the most, because if vendors cooperate, it immediately means more value for the end user and for the partners as well.
Yeah. So let's touch on that joint solution concept, which you ended your pitch so elegantly with. And we fully believe that concept of better together is going to really be a huge game changer. So as we think about joint solutions, how should we be thinking about setting up the enablement and marketing of joint solutions? Like today, it's really hard to do that in a portal, because a portal's got one solution and the other one's got the other one, but then the joint solution needs to live somewhere. So what does it mean to live and market in a joint solution from an enablement perspective and then from a marketing perspective? So Will, tell us about how the nodal model allows us to really drive that joint solution enablement.
Yeah, I mean, I could give you specific examples of some organizations that are tapping multiple different providers. And so in a nodal architecture, so the providers have their own nodes. Clearly, for example, Microsoft is not going to put stuff about AWS or about Salesforce, et cetera. Each one has their own stuff, but the partner is kind of bringing it together and then pushing it downstream to their own customers in a much more unified way. And that doesn't necessarily hurt the providers, because the providers want to sell more. And if they're only part of a solution, which most of them kind of recognize that they are, then they don't mind that push downwards in a much more unified, kind of democratized way. And so essentially within enablement, and I'll let Rick answer the marketing part, what you're providing is you're providing a lot of different knowledge elements from a lot of these different providers down to a partner, unifying it, and then that partner pushing it to the different communities. The element of ecosystems with architecture flexibility makes it a very, very powerful model. Typically, the portal kind of traditional model was just a system to user. But with the ecosystem nodal architecture, you actually could create a node downstream to different segments. So you could push a lot of that knowledge down to your own users. You could push it down to, for example, a corporate customer node as a value add that you're providing that customer, or some other segments. All that really kind of makes this unifying element of how you put these Lego together and push it downstream to whatever community much more effective. And one last thing I'll say is the feedback loop that you're getting, because you're getting the data back in real time into your node. And when you get this data back into your node, you know what's working and what's not working right there and then, as opposed to having to wait 3-4 months for the provider to come around to sending you any Excel reports that might have showed up on their portal. This feedback loop can also kind of go back up all the way, nodally all the way up to the top, benefiting the partner, benefiting the provider, because everybody has the same visibility in real time to everything that's going on.
Great. How about you, Rick, from the standpoint, how do we market those together stories in a holistic way?
Yeah, I think to have a concrete example, you had an example about Salesforce, Will, and I think indeed if you look at Salesforce, one of the integrations I see most is with Marketo, so that you have your CRM together with marketing automation, you can enrich your data, etc. So let's say Salesforce and Marketo would want to go to market together. Then you got within Channext, Salesforce has a node with other channel partners in it. Then Marketo has the same. And then they want to do a joint solution campaign where they actually serve, because most of their partners are actually doing those type of integrations, right? Connecting it with each other, making sure it brings more value, etc. And from that perspective, it would practically work like, okay, Salesforce starts working on the campaign. They invite Marketo, the partner marketers at Marketo. They start working together on all the assets, etc. Because of the connection together, you can see, hey, we already got 30 channel partners together that have both Marketo and Salesforce on. So as soon as they publish, it will automatically publish to those channel partners as well. But on the other hand, the campaign will also become available to the partners who have not said, I also have Marketo, but there it's not always on. So there they can just opt in for the campaign, or they can say, hey, I also do Marketo, etc. So that's how it works practically there. So you create a campaign together, you map it on your channel partners, and then it distributes to the end user.
Sounds like we're going to need some platforms in the future, right? Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Rick, for attending. Thanks to everyone. And we're just everyone knows we're going to be sending out recordings of all of this stuff, so you don't have to worry about it. And any last parting thoughts before we let everybody go, Rick or Will?
But what I love about what we're doing here is we're hitting multiple birds with a stone. First, we're sharing with the community how the paradigm shift is moving from the monolithic to the democratized ecosystem model. But we're also showing them at the same time how ecosystems support multiple workloads, and properly architected ecosystem platforms will complement each other. This is, for example, between TIDWIT and Channext, where we're actually going to common customers together, because they have ecosystem needs when it comes to marketing. They also have them when it comes to enablement. And so what I hope came across today is not only the paradigm shift, but also the importance of people when they're considering this paradigm shift to look at platforms that are open enough to really allow them to launch multiple workloads, because they're quickly going to realize that there isn't a single solution ecosystem that's going to fit all of their needs. They're going to need to kind of line them up next to each other and have them talk to each other to make the experience of their users and their communities as seamless as possible. So I want to thank Rick, for this great opportunity to share this with the community at large, and you for leading it. And we're here to answer any questions that that anybody in the community would like to ask, and share with them success stories and cases and learnings as well.
All right, Rick, take us home.
I think what I particularly like, we dove very deep into the ecosystem approach there, but also how does ecosystem enablement and marketing strengthen each other. So what I really see there, it's always like what triggers one of your partners to actually start engaging or participating in your enablement, or to start engaging with your marketing. And if you combine those two together, then you could work like it works as follows. If you are launching campaigns, that's an excellent trigger for partners that they want to do enablement, because they know, oh, I'm going to market about it, and it's going to go on my socials, on my website. I'm going to get questions from end users. So they are intrinsically motivated to start learning about everything that's launching as well from an enablement perspective. So they actually are confident when they have those conversations. And the other way around, it's just the same. You can do gamification, like if they've finished certain enablement training programs, they get extra budget for marketing, etc. So I really think if you tie the two together, that's how you get the most engagement on your partner marketing and enablement activities.
Great. All right, everybody. Wishing you a great rest of your day, and can't wait to engage with you further. Take care, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Well done.